Many people believe that manifestation does not work because they are not doing enough. They believe that they need more techniques, more discipline, more repetition, or more effort. They believe that if they just apply the teachings harder or longer, something will eventually shift. But effort is not what creates movement. Alignment creates movement. Alignment has nothing to do with how many techniques are being used. Alignment has everything to do with how a person actually feels while they are asking. When someone says they have been trying every technique they know, it often means they are watching themselves too closely. It means they are measuring, checking, correcting, and monitoring constantly. That does not create ease. It creates pressure. Pressure always signals resistance. Resistance is not wrong, but it does slow the natural flow of things. What matters most is not the technique, but the emotional relationship being held with the desire itself. A person can say the right words and still feel discouraged. They can repeat affirmations and still feel doubt underneath them. The universe does not respond to the words being spoken. It responds to the vibration being offered. Vibration follows emotion. Emotion always tells the truth. If results are not moving, it does not mean something is broken. It simply means the emotional signal is not aligned with the desired outcome yet. When someone is asked to describe how they feel about their business, their work, or their life, there is often a difference between what sounds good and what feels true. One statement may sound optimistic, while another feels more honest. Honesty is always the better starting point. There is no benefit in pretending to feel differently than one actually does. Alignment begins with acknowledgement, not denial. If something feels difficult, then it feels difficult. That does not make the desire wrong, does not make the person incapable. It simply means that attention has been focused more on what is not working than on what is. Attention is energy. Wherever attention rests consistently, experience eventually follows. The emotional guidance system works like a navigational tool. It always knows exactly where a person is, and it always knows where they want to go. It does not judge how long they have been where they are. It does not ask why it took so long. It does not care whose fault anything is. It only responds to direction. Where someone is and where they are heading are the only things that matter. When people focus on how long they have been stuck, how hard things have been, or how discouraged they feel, they are placing attention on the current location rather than the desired destination. That attention strengthens the feeling of being stuck. The moment attention shifts even slightly toward where someone wants to go, emotional relief begins. Relief is always a sign of movement in the right direction. Encouragement from others can sometimes feel comforting, but it can also highlight where someone feels inadequate. When someone hears phrases like "do not worry" or "it will get better," the underlying message can unintentionally emphasize that something is wrong right now. That emphasis can activate feelings of discouragement or inadequacy, even when the intention behind the words is loving. Inadequacy does not mean a person believes they are unworthy. It often means they believe they should be further along than they are. That belief creates internal pressure. Pressure splits energy. When energy is split, momentum slows. This does not mean the desire disappears. It simply means the path feels heavier. The emotional scale exists to guide movement, not to shame anyone for where they are. If someone feels discouraged, jumping immediately to joy is not realistic. Emotional shifts must feel believable to be effective. Reaching for a slightly better feeling thought is far more powerful than attempting an emotional leap that does not feel true. Anger often feels better than discouragement. Blame often feels better than guilt. This does not mean anger or blame should be acted out destructively.
Elliot!
It means that empowerment begins when self-directed criticism stops. When someone moves from blaming themselves to recognizing their own capability, energy begins to reassemble. The thought "I am not inadequate" carries more power than forced positivity. It creates firmness. It creates grounding. It allows energy to flow forward again. A person does not need to fix everything in that moment. They only need to stop collapsing inward. Forward-facing energy is enough to begin movement. When energy becomes unified, it becomes strong. One clear, aligned signal carries more momentum than countless scattered efforts. Alignment does not require perfection. It requires consistency. Consistently choosing thoughts that feel slightly better creates steady progress. Progress does not need to be dramatic to be effective. As emotional alignment improves, reactions to external input change. Words that once triggered discouragement lose their charge. Reassurance no longer feels like pity. Support no longer feels like a reminder of lack. This shift does not happen because others change, but because internal stability increases. There are no external gauges that determine success. Numbers, timelines, and visible evidence are secondary indicators. The primary indicator is always emotion. Emotion reveals whether attention is pointed toward what is wanted or toward what is absent. Paying attention to emotion allows immediate course correction. Small feelings of unworthiness often go unnoticed because they do not feel dramatic. They linger quietly and influence decisions subtly. Sympathy can activate these feelings unintentionally because sympathy focuses on struggle rather than strength. Strength does not require reassurance. Alignment creates its own confidence. Growth does not arrive at a final destination. Expansion is ongoing. There is no moment when creation is complete. There is always more clarity, more refinement, more movement. Viewing progress as continuous rather than conditional dissolves resistance. When someone stops treating their current position as failure, tension releases. When they stop measuring themselves against an imagined finish line, momentum returns. Where someone is right now is not a problem. It is simply the starting point for the next movement forward. The only meaningful question to ask in any moment is whether the current thought brings a person closer to where they want to be or further away. That question does not require judgment. It only requires awareness. Awareness creates choice. Choice creates direction. Feeling better is not about ignoring reality. It is about choosing perspectives that allow energy to move. Relief signals alignment. Empowerment signals alignment. Hope signals alignment. Each of these emotions indicates movement toward what is wanted. There is nothing wrong with incremental progress. Steady movement is often more powerful than sudden change. The universe responds to direction, not speed. A consistent signal, even a quiet one, is enough. When someone aligns emotionally with where they are going, resources begin to arrange themselves naturally. Opportunities appear without force. Ideas arise without strain. Action feels inspired rather than desperate. This is the difference between pushing and allowing. Allowing does not mean doing nothing. It means doing what feels natural instead of what feels forced. It means trusting emotional guidance more than external pressure. It means recognizing that movement begins internally before it becomes visible externally. A person does not need to convince anyone else of their path. They only need to maintain alignment within themselves. When alignment is present, confidence follows naturally. Confidence does not shout, it stabilizes. Progress does not require eliminating all doubt. It requires reducing resistance enough for movement to occur. Movement creates feedback. Feedback builds trust. Trust strengthens alignment. Expansion is inevitable when attention is guided deliberately. Where someone is does not limit where they are going. It simply informs the path forward. Direction is always available in the present moment. When someone stops fighting their emotional indicators and starts using them as guidance, manifestation becomes simpler. It becomes responsive rather than effortful. It becomes a process of listening rather than forcing. There is no need to rush. There is no need to compare. There is no need to perfect every thought. Alignment grows through awareness, patience, and consistency. The emotional guidance system always works. It never fails. It does not punish. It only informs. When it is respected, movement becomes inevitable. Where someone is now is acceptable. Where they are going is already in motion. The space between is not an obstacle. It is the path itself.